And we are live. I don't even know what week we're in, but I suppose it doesn't really matter whenever you have conference championships. I am your co-host, Coach Trey, and with me is a cameraless, but nevertheless, clearly getting some text messages over there. Wonderful and just the type of fella you want in your corner, and that's Russo over there. How you doing, fella?
What up? What up? We are here. We are live.
We have actually had to go 1 day late, and we apologize for that. 1 day late. So, reason for that being is that my better half and I made 3 years yesterday. Shout out Sugarfoot. Thank you. Appreciate that. We went out, had a little dinner last night. Didn't even order any drinks, dude. Been getting our absolute, to be honest with you, just getting our absolute guts punched by work. I mean, the amount of things in my world of medical sales that has to happen in order for you to be able to take just a little bit of time off at the end of the year is nothing short of a nightmare. However, going forward with things that matter much more than our 9 to 5s, and that's college football. And so right now we've got 2 active games. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure how Russo feels about these because we kind of talked about them briefly before the show started. UNLV is going to take a road trip out to Boise to play the true Heisman Trophy, which should be the true Heisman Trophy winner. And Tulane is going to take a road trip to go see Army, obviously in a very demonstratively embarrassing way. Tulane kind of ruined their chances at being the Louisiana team to go make the college football playoff. I hated that game. I hated every single second of it. It just never felt like they had the juice. They kind of looked like they showed up and rolled up ready to just claim the win without having to play the game. And so obviously you can't do that on the Saturday game. And so they're now going to get to face the Army Black Knights. I'm not really sure if you have any strong opinions or if you put any money on this one, Roos, but I actually took Boise State in the points and I took Tulane in the points. 4.5 and 3 maybe.
I do have a bet on the Tulane game
Or 5.5.
under 46.5 for that game.
I like that.
I mean, I feel like Tulane has a game under their belt against the Armed Forces style, and they won 35-0. I just think they know how to play this type of style. So
10-4.
I would not be shocked if Army also played well. I think they're better defensively anyways. So the line opened at 48.5, so it's definitely trending that way. We had a future on UNLV making the playoff several weeks ago. I probably should have published this. At the time, I just, there was a lot that had to happen for it to get there, and it did. So if they win, that cashes. However, more or less, I'm pulling for my dog Ashton. If you never know if he puts up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns here. You never know if that sways the votes for the Heisman. I think it's already solidified, unfortunately. However, if he goes for 203 touchdowns, you at least have to reconsider it. So. I'll probably be pulling for Boise State, but 2 good games definitely to start us off on Conference Champ Week.
To be honest, man, I kind of wanted to start with those games because I really didn't want I really don't want to bury the lead. I would like to kind of pivot really, really quick, if you don't mind, to National Signing Day, and then we can go back to the games as we see them, since obviously we're going to go kind of in like in non-sequential order here. But some winners and losers. So I was kind of waiting to see if there was going to be any hesitancy, and if you're a local here in the South, or whether you're a college football fan that lies beneath the Mason-Dixon line. I've seen quite a bit of people enter the transfer portal. Obviously, right now, and it's a little bit more difficult in the Big Ten right now to see some of the receipts, because if anybody was going to transfer out, almost usually going to be the schools where, and I promise I'm taking a long way down, and I'm saying a lot to mean a little, but if a team is going to have if there's going to be a team right now that's going to want to put transfers out, it's going to be people that obviously are not into the playoff, right? You've seen some that are in that have a couple players here and there that are disgruntled, the Georgias, the Tennessees of the world. But if anybody's on a team in the Big Ten right now, it kind of seems like everything is just kind of status quo. I mean, you've got some, but there's no like big name. Like you don't see like a big name right now that's kind of popped out of the Big Ten. And it's primarily because the biggest of them are all in they still have something to play for right now outside of Michigan, which they've got their hands full with everything that they're doing. I just want to take just a brief second. If there is a common theme with NIL that I think Russo and I have agreed on, it's that the way that this is structured and the way that this is going, it can't continue in this way. And if you're going to continue to explain to me that the kids deserve to be paid, I'm going to agree with you. If you tell me that name, image, and likeness should be something they should benefit on based on, the work that they put on the field to deserve that, I'm going to agree with you. But you lose me at these outlandish amounts of money that you're throwing to unproven kids out of high school. That is not to say that you have, because they only have what they can prove by being in high school. However, if you're going to tell me that a kid who, and you could put these tea leaves together if you want to, a kid who has played not a full season of high school football, already young for the year, gets $2 million a year to go and play, you're losing me.
Okay.
And if you really get honest with yourselves, everyone feels insecure about this because there's no real fix until there is structure put in. And the NCAA, Russo, if you want to answer this question for me, the NCAA has been the antithesis of what since this has started?
Waiting around for this to just get as bad as it can.
They've been the antithesis of structure. And I am at a point where I've kind of I've washed my hands with the situation. You can't fault kids for wanting to do it. But what I can fault is that the NCAA has kind of just said, you asked for this, so here you go. Like, you wanted to go out to parties, and then you went out and you got arrested, and you ended up having a beer in your hand, and now you're going to juvie and blah, blah, blah. Like, you get to deal with what you deal with. And so it's left to some of these coaches, some of the older variety that have kind of said, I really don't want to do this anymore. And if there's not a more clear indication of the greatest of all time leaving, Nick obviously has left, but you've now seen not one but two Power 4 or 5 head coaches go leave their university comfortably to go be an offensive coordinator, and Chip Kelly and I haven't had enough coffee yet. UCF, not Gene.
Gus,
yes, thank you. I can't put it to you any better than this, Bruce. This is embarrassing that you offer a high school kid that's played 10 total football games in his life, helps to get reclassified from a staff, is offered 4 times the amount of money than the captain of their team and the only first-round draft pick and a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. You're offering him 4 times that money, and he turns it down because they doubled it to go to LA. Like, that is absurd. Like, that is absurd to me. So you have to get in line as a fan. You have to donate. You have to put, you can't bitch. Sorry, but you can't bitch and then show me your bank account receipts that you're not donating your money to your funds. Like if you're just going to sit on the couch and complain that your team's not getting these players, then why don't you donate $20? Because you know what I know that you do? I know you spend $50 on sushi. And I know that whenever you go to the movies and you go and buy a $9 Coke, I know that when you go to these football games, you pay $11 for a beer and $15 for chili cheese nachos. Why don't you go and donate $10 a month or $10 a week or $20 a year or whatever you can afford, dude? If 100 people do that, what does that look like? Maybe all of a sudden you might start getting these receivers. And I've gone long here and I apologize for that, but I feel very strongly in that this is exhausting. This is literally exhausting to have to come to the table and talk about all the players that you don't get when in reality, you as a team, you call it Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? Where you can't get a receiver that wanted to come to your school and you lose him to Alabama because they doubled up his offer in the 11th hour. You feel me? Like this is ridiculous. And if I'm feeling if what I've said is outlandish, I would love for you to stop me.
Well, I think let's start with I do not agree with the asking fans to donate / blaming fans who are.
You shouldn't have to ask them.
I agree. However, given that they do have the right to complain whether they donate or not, that's not what NIL was intended to do, and I don't think you should. I don't think that's a fair argument. It is what it is. I mean, given the state of NIL, it's a donor game, and the book's out on LSU not competing, so to say, with schools like Texas, like USC, on paying. But
no one is.
To me, I think until it's fixed, until there's some regulations around it, I think there needs to be some reevaluation on how you treat LSU going forward. Like I think we need to reassess how our expectations are going forward. We shouldn't expect. I mean, 8-4 is probably about what we should expect going forward. Given the state of NIL, they're not going to compete. They're never going to get the big guy. So to me,
they got like 4 of the big guys.
They got 2 5-stars, right? I mean, you lost several 5-stars, not easily, but you were used in negotiations.
Everyone lost recruits to Texas and Oregon, Russo. Everybody.
I understand, but you're going to consistently be outside the top 5 in recruiting going forward.
If you can, and I'll put it to you this way: if top 10 and top 8 or whatever you want to say recruiting class, and you had 3 5-stars. If top 8 is what you look like with an unorganized NIL, that should make it that much more disgusting to you to think of what LSU or an Auburn or give me another one that's got some money, a Tennessee could look like with it being structured, because you're able to get them. You just can't compete with the top 1% of those schools, and literally no one can. LSU's worth $1 billion and Texas is worth 45. And you know what I'm saying? Like from a class perspective, you're talking about, how you lost a recruit to Michigan. Well, you're number 7, they're number 9, or 8 and 10 if you follow theirs. Who's got more money, LSU or A&M? Answer the question. Who's got more money?
A&M.
LSU's above them.
But
who's got more money, LSU or USC?
Yeah, this doesn't matter though. They're not going to consistently get in the top 5.
But that's not because of recruiting though. You
have to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
No. Your point is right, but you pigeonholed it. They're not gonna. They're 8-4. They weren't 8-4 until this year. They were better than that the last 2 years. Why? Because you hit on the transfer portal. You can't, and this is where my second point is, so I'm so glad that you said it. You can't not be in the top 1% of the NIL when it comes to recruiting and not hit on your transfer portal. You can't. You can't not do both. You have to do one or the other. And if you do both, now you're cooking with Crisco. You feel are you following?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I think that somewhat ties into NIL, does it not? I mean, you've got to still have better
Maybe.
offers
We were talking about recruiting high school though.
Yeah, no, agreed. But I mean, I was getting there as far as the recruiting classes are concerned. I will until it's fixed. My stance is we're not going to be able to compete until something changes inside LSU where they get more money. And I know they're asking, people are asking fans for money. I hate that that's a thing.
I agree.
That's not what this was intended for. However, given the stance of it, I mean, I just don't.
It only benefits the top 1%, dude. Every school that's not the ones that can literally buy their way every single year. A school like an Ole Miss or or a Kentucky or give me another one. Indiana's a little bit hard. That's probably not a great one. Give me a comparable. Florida State. Like you're only going to be able to have that money and pull your resources from your fans better maybe from 1 year, not like for a straight 3-year period, and you can get 1 or 2, but you're not going to get 4, 5, 6, 7 like what you used to get from Alabama when everything was under the radar. But now you can, it's just different. So in this structure, it only benefits a few of them, and everybody else just has to kind of just coach better, and that's all you get.
And that just goes along with, I think as LSU fans, you have so high of expectations. I'm just saying we need to lower those given the state of where we're at.
Right.
I think 8-4 should be looked at as a good season in the state.
I don't want to say that.
That's where I am. I mean, 8-4 is.
You can't accept that as being good. You can accept that in that environment. If that happens, then you shouldn't. Because I'm telling you, if he goes 8-4 again, no one's gonna be happy. No one.
But once again, that's keeping our old mindset. You've got to readjust. You just simply do. That's all I'm saying.
You have enough talent in the state to be better than 4 losses a year. However, if you don't think that teams are not going to all of a sudden start really playing for we can lose 3 times and do some shit, because big dog, whereas you used to not be able to lose 2 games. I know we obviously lost with 2 games, but because you can lose 3 times and still be fighting, depending on when you lose. Apparently,
I mean LSU as a 3
teams are going to lose more often. Anthony, am I right or wrong?
I agree. However, we've shown that the amount of losses are critical. I think 3 losses, maybe one SEC team with 3 losses gets in, as you see here. Given the state of college football, is a little wacky right now. Even with NIL, with the the rankings and how that's assessed. I don't know. It's a weird state right now. It almost makes me, as far as the rankings is concerned, almost makes me feel like we should. I miss the BCS in a way. Like I miss a computer telling me, because you can equally, like, you can set in 5 factors right into a computer for how to judge, and you equally get the right place based on those factors. You get the right rankings here. And in the current system, I feel like we are picking and choosing when to apply certain factors to certain situations. And to me, I think that's bullshit. To sit there and use strength of schedule in one aspect and not to use it in another, like Notre Dame and Indiana, but to use it for schools, like Alabama and Ole Miss, I think that's bullshit. I don't think it's used fairly across the board. And to me, I don't know. I feel a certain type of way about it. That's why I just wish we would have the BCS rankings in a way. Get rid of the automatic bids, automatic buys. Obviously, I feel like they should be in. Like Boise State should make it. They shouldn't get a bye. I think everyone agrees with that. I think the current structure of the bracket sucks. Being the 5 seed is clearly the best path to the championship, in my opinion, compared to the 1 seed. There's a lot wrong right now. And to me, they've got to fix some of these things. I don't know how long it'll take, but there's a lot wrong. I wish we, kind of wish we had a BCS rankings. That way we can, outline the factors and absolutely apply them across the board, because that's what they're not doing right now. They're telling you 6 or 7 different factors. They're not applying it equally. They're applying it in certain situations. To me, and we can talk about this, from a 10,000-foot view, I don't know why Bama gets in over Ole Miss. I don't know why all of a sudden we are looking at Kentucky as a worse loss than the 3-touchdown defeat to 6-win Oklahoma.
Because Kentucky only won a game.
Timing matters. You lost 2 weeks ago, Trey. I get it. It's a bad loss.
I'm playing devil's advocate, Anthony. I don't. You and I know that we're on the same page with this, but I'm playing devil's advocate.
Losses. They're both bad losses. I agree. When you're playing, like how you play when you play matters. To me, you just went on the road to a 6-win team and lost by 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. The Kentucky loss is bad. I get it. But I get it, and Kentucky's bad team. They only won 1 game. It was against them as far as like the Power 4. I get it. But you're not going to tell me that's a worse loss. It's just not. Getting dominated 2 weeks before the playoffs is crazy. It's crazy to me. And honestly, South Carolina has, no one wants to play South Carolina. South Carolina is the better team of the 3. But, unfortunately, early on, they lost 2 critical matches to Bama and Ole Miss. So we're just, to me, how you play when you play matters. The committee literally told you it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
Do you remember? And we were all distracted in this year, and this makes my point. Do you remember in 2019 who was the first, second, and third highest ranked non-Power 4 teams in that year in the last ranking?
I do not.
Okay. I'll give you a hint. Penny Hardaway coached one of them in basketball.
Vanderbilt?
Memphis.
Oh, Memphis.
One is playing tonight, Boise State.
I was thinking Jerry Stackhouse, my bad.
And the other one's mascot is Luke Combs.
Appalachian
State. They were ranked 17, 19, and 20. So now, because your model is set up different, give you another example. 9-3 Auburn was the highest ranked 3-loss team. The highest ranked 3-loss team was Auburn that year at 12. So check me out. I'm actually a liar. Wisconsin was number 8 with 3 losses. So clearly the 3-loss thing never mattered, because the playoff that year would have looked like almost identical to what it looks like now, except a couple of more Big 12 teams. My point, that year, guess who was one beat out? Guess who was number 13 that year?
I don't know.
The Fighting Tide of Alabama. Number 13. They came in at number 13, followed by Michigan and Notre Dame. Only ahead by 1 was Auburn and Utah. So my point is, all of a sudden you're now supposed to believe that some of these 1-loss teams that haven't been relevant in years are now supposed to have this home field advantage. And to me, I'm going to be honest with you. I love whenever teams get home field advantage. But when you didn't do that and you said that they just get the bye, and then the only people that get the home field advantage is the ones that are kind of like landing there in the middle and 5, 6, 7, and 8, it was almost like, I'm not really sure if you're trying to follow the Sunday model. I don't really know entirely what you're doing, but just goes to show you, bro, say that Boise State wins tonight. The only team they lost to this year is Oregon. Barely. And you can make an argument they should have won the damn game. So I see where it can make sense to play devil's advocate, to your point, in the auto bids, but not every year is that going to be the case in which the Heisman Trophy runner-up maybe is going to be on that team. For the most part, that doesn't happen. For the most part, a 3-loss South Carolina team absolutely deserves to be in, depending on how they've been playing. Now, granted, you do lose early on in the year, and you then fight back. And I think how you're playing at that time matters, and some of the principles on the team matter. Did we not punish Florida State last year when their quarterback got hurt because they didn't play as well as they were that year, and they weren't as strong as a team, so they weren't the most deserving or the 4 best?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that South Carolina, that there are 12 teams right now better than South Carolina in college football right now? Because you're not talking about the full season, right? Because you weren't talking about the full season whenever you put Alabama in, and you and I agreed that Bama was the rightful pick to get in. We made money on that pick. So you're now only picking right now. So if you're going to say right now they are not the 4 best, right now South Carolina is obviously in the 12 best. That's so clear to me. Like, I don't know why this argument hasn't been made. It is anything that these committees in ugly suits can say and use to make you as the fan tune in, watch, shut the hell up, and then go back to your 9 to 5, take care of your kids, and do whatever you want to do because you tuned in, you watched the show, we got our ratings, and eat butt. That is That is literally all this committee is.
Yeah.
Did I do a good enough job of explaining in 5 minutes what this committee is?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, no point harping on it, man. I mean, I was gonna come on here and really be pissed off for even teams like Miami. Because to me, Bama doesn't deserve to be in. That's just my opinion.
1,000. I 1,000%
feel
agree.
like that is one of the worst losses of the season, followed by a team that was number 2 as a 21-point favorite at home loses to a 5-5 or like a 5-7 Michigan team.
Mm-hmm.
They only drop 4 spots. So to me, I just think we clearly have a problem. We have a bias, and it's a brand game. It's clearly a brand game because to me, I think if you really break down the resumes, it's very objective. People are saying Kentucky is a bad loss compared to the Oklahoma one. We're not even looking at the scoreboard anymore. We're just comparing losses. And you take away the scoreboard, of course, Kentucky's the worst loss when you compare Ole Miss to Alabama. But to me, I think it's bullshit to take away the score. I think how you lose matters. So it's all bullshit. And that's why I said I think you should almost go back to a computer rankings because you take out the bias, you apply the factors how you want them to be applied, how they want to be weighted, and that's that. And there's no bias. It's absolutely based on how the factors you want to implement are. And screw having 12 guys with different biases in there. To me, if you want the 12 best teams, let's go based on factor. How much does strength of schedule matter? Because now you force them to put a number down. How does it matter? They won't tell you how much it matters. They'll just, in certain situations, like when you compare, why is Notre Dame number 4? Strength of schedule is clearly not a big deal when you're talking about Notre Dame, when you're talking about SMU, when you're talking about Indiana. But then it is a big deal when you're talking down the line. Why is Oregon and Texas compared to each other? Why is Penn State 3? Georgia's number 5 with the toughest schedule. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it would force their hand in doing a job that should be done, and
it won't matter.
It won't matter.
It
No,
won't matter because this is gonna be expanded. You and I both know that they're gonna expand this sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm to the point where obviously our team's not in it, but we obviously have a podcast that we're able to talk about these things. And I think if we're going to be honest with ourselves, if these conversations aren't had, then what's the point in there even being a ranking system? Then it's just the old BCS model of win your games and you're in, and if you lose, then it's just a decision made up to whatever. But the difference is that it's now opinions versus the computer. Like the BCS model decided that LSU and Alabama in that year were supposed to play again. They chose that. Like the computer chose that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
None of us thought that was going to happen unless a loss happened. But Oklahoma State ends up losing. And so now you get LSU and Alabama again. If that's a committee, Oklahoma State's in that game, and LSU drags them up the field. Like it is now to the point that, hey, look, like let's just put this into the hands of people. Like let's put some emotion in, like who watches the games. But now you're getting decisions based on, I mean, you don't think that the Big Ten commissioner, a Big Ten athletics director is going to have some sort of bias to want to have some Big Ten teams in there? We can't prove that, but it's clearly obvious that Ward is going to have some. Like come on, dog. Like we're not dumb. Like this is just as honest as a coach's agent. You know, like this is zero. Like no one wants to face South Carolina. No one wants to play Ole Miss either. But Ole Miss didn't do themselves any favor losing to a bad Florida team. And the same can be said about LSU, because guess who's playing Texas right now if you beat Florida?
LSU.
So, again, go win your games. But at the same time, if a team is ascending towards the later in the year, you have to reward them because you used the exact logic you used against Florida State last year and screwed those kids based on that same logic right now that you did with them. You're not as good as you were last week, so we're going to reward somebody else, when in reality, you're better than somebody this week, but they have a bigger brand, so we're going to put them in. And it's the same way Texas was postured with an easy schedule. It's the same reason that we talked about this last week when Texas was postured so high. In the event that they lost to A&M and to Georgia, they were still going to get in no matter the hell what. It didn't matter. And it's brands, bro, and it's money, and I get it. Like, we all want to watch the games too, but you mean to tell me that South Carolina's not a fun watch? And I know we're harping on this. I really don't want to, but it's just really disappointing because it's defeating the game that we love in a way.
100%.
Let's
go over.
Let's get into the games.
Yeah. So obviously we've got our 2 games today, and we've got a 4-game slate tomorrow. Let's start with Iowa State, Arizona State, a playoff game in itself. Who do you got here? Got a 1.5 point favorite towards Arizona State. Both teams 10-2. Both teams with kind of a red and yellow thing going on. You know, I haven't really watched.
Big 12 is just it's just Dr. Pepper's lit. Not a big advocate for soft drinks, but if I had to pick one of my favorite back from the time, it would have been Dr. Pepper. I mean, man, give me Arizona State, I guess. I mean, they've looked good in spurts. This is just not the best. This just isn't the best for me. And before you go on to the next one, Boise State's up 7-0 with 3 left in the first, and Army is taking the lead over Tulane at the end of the first, going into the second.
Mm-hmm.
Tulane's got the ball and they're driving, and UNLV has got the ball on their end of the field, and it's 4th and 18, so it looks like they'll punt. Also, too, the timings of these games are just absolutely abysmal. Texas and Georgia being in the 3 window is sickening.
Well, I get it. I mean, I think the 7 o'clock game is Right. I mean, well, one of them
There's
is
two.
right.
There's one
Yeah,
that's going to get
but
watched.
I mean, let's talk about Georgia, Texas. Obviously, 2.5 point favorite for Texas. Modified home game for Georgia.
Mhm.
I just don't like the way Georgia's been playing. Um, that that game against Georgia Tech was something. And I don't feel great if I'm a Georgia fan right now. However, we know playoff Kirby Smart is going to come out and have his guys ready. I just don't know how many times we're going to continue to say that, given the playing field being more even now. I don't trust either of these quarterbacks in big time. To me, honestly, once again, I think Arch Manning should get some play here just as a running quarterback. Georgia clearly struggles against running quarterbacks from last week. I think you should at least consider playing Arch a few times, or not in the Taysom Hill way, but just get him in there. Uh, I'll take Texas in the points.
Okay.
I would not be shocked of any result here, though. And Georgia handily beat them on the road last or a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, whatever that game was. So it wouldn't shock me at all. But give me Texas just based on the form of both teams right now.
Is there have you changed your mind at all on how you feel about these teams?
From like when, I
Like,
guess.
yeah, like as far as like how you like when this game first came out. First of all, the line was closer, so
Nothing's changed. I mean, I obviously you want to point towards Georgia, the head-to-head matchup earlier, and you're like, oh, why is the line the way it is? But if you really break it down, it's kind of just based on form. And to me, I think it's clear. I think Texas is in better form than Georgia. So
okay.
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
to me,
I agree. I
it's
agree.
to
I
me.
think I think Texas wants to be there more.
Now a game I want to talk about: Penn State, Oregon. Oregon minus 3.5.
I don't like that line.
What is stopping Oregon from throwing this game? How about that? Let's talk about that. Why not?
I listen to me.
Why not?
I have said in the exact words, there are two reasons why I'm taking Penn State in the points. Penn State didn't think that they'd get there, and they don't. I'm not going to say they don't deserve to be there. Penn State did not think they were going to be there, and it's for those reasons that the secondary market of tickets is telling me the answer to the question of who wants to go more. Obviously, it's Penn State, and then there's that. But the big question is James Franklin is Coach Frank obviously does not perform well historically in the big game, so that's why I have my hesitancies. But I did take Penn State, and I boosted it to 4.5.
To me, so like,
But nothing stopping them to answer your question. Nothing.
so if everything goes the way it is, if SMU wins against Clemson, you're gonna have who I believe, I don't know who would be the 4 seed right now. Would it be Boise or SMU?
It would be
Because SMU's 8, so it'd be Boise.
Boise.
So you'd likely, now obviously this thing gets screwed up a decent bit, but to me, because like Alabama would slide into the 12 seed, I'm assuming. Well, honestly,
They're already at 11.
I think SMU would be the 12 seed. Yeah, we can get to that too, because that's a conversation to be had. If everything goes the way it should, the 5 seed's going to play the 12 seed, which will likely be uh, the winner of the Big 12 matchup.
Who's going to
So,
be 5? Notre Dame?
right. Well, it depends. I'm arguing for the case of Oregon losing, right? Oregon
SMU,
throwing.
if they win, is not going to jump from 8 to 5.
No. Oregon would be. I think the loser of. I think the loser of the Big 10 matchups, the 5 seed, playoff
What
wise.
if Oregon wins and Texas loses?
It's a good question. I
You
think
think they
whoever
need
loses, I don't think Notre Dame will be the 5 seed. I think it'll be more or less Texas or Oregon.
Do you think they'd
Whoever's
be
the
the
higher
4?
seed. Who would be a 4?
Notre Dame.
They can't be.
They're ranked there right now.
No, I'm talking about playoff ranking, like playoff seeding, like the buys, like Boise's going to be a 3, or Boise's going to be a 4.
Right. They can't, but we're talking about ranking. Okay, but you're talking about Okay, we're
Yeah,
so we're seeding.
yeah,
Okay.
So in the bracket, and for
with you.
bracket purposes,
Right.
the loser of the Big Ten matchup is going to be the 5 seed, which is where you want to be. 5 will play 12, and then play 4. Right. So
they'll swap. So Oregon and Penn State would swap.
I don't know if they'd swap. I think Penn State go. Well, yeah, I don't know. You've got a lot.
They're at the 5 right now. So if Penn State loses, they're not going to be at the 5. You would at that point put Notre Dame at the 5.
I think we're not. Okay. I don't think you're following. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about those rankings. I don't care. I don't care how.
I'm looking at the.
I get it. But that's not how it's going to end up. But I'm obviously the top 4 aren't getting buys. How it's currently ranked, right? Can we agree on that? I'm not looking at that ranking because Boise's going to be. Boise's.
All right, I pulled it up. All right, I'm with you.
So Oregon loses.
Yep.
Is the 5 seed.
Yep.
They play 12, which will be the Big 12 winner, and then play 4, which
they won't throw it, but they should. Yeah,
they should. I think they should. And they would play the winner of the Big 12 and then Boise. Compared to right now, they would play the winner of the 7-8 game, which would be some combination of Ohio State, Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, one of those 3 teams. So, to me, I'm throwing. Why not throw? Screw the bye. You basically you're going to get a bye before the first playoff match anyways. Why not throw? I don't see why you don't throw, because you'll be guaranteed the 5 seed. Now, it gets a little fishy if, I don't know, if SMU loses, then SMU might fall. I don't know where people fall at that point, but if everything goes right, you get the matchups you want. And
I had to look it up on my phone because it was faster, but yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They won't throw, but I think they should, and I wouldn't be shocked. And if I'm Penn State, I'm kind of the same way. I think if you lose, they're clearly not going to punish you that much. I think you would be the 5 seed over Notre Dame. So the 5 seed is where you want to be, and Penn State can make a run. I think whoever the 5 seed is going to make a run and possibly win this thing. That's just how I feel.
Last game on the slate. Who do you think wins?
Let's talk about it. If SMU loses, does Bama still get in?
If SMU loses,
does Bama get in over SMU?
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That would be.
You're not going to reward a two loss Big 12 team that way.
Then why is SMU playing? Why wouldn't
I'm not telling you that I agree. Well,
it would be a horrific precedent to set.
Or an ACC, sorry.
It would be a horrific precedent to set for punishing the team that is playing in the conference championship.
No, they would be in. SMU. If it's close, if they get their backs blown out, it'll be they won't be in. But if it's close, yeah.
I even think 3 touchdowns is enough for them to still stay in.
Okay.
Because clearly we don't care about how you lose, right? That's what the committee's told you.
It all depends on the team, right?
They don't care. They don't care. They don't care how you lose. They just wipe the scores off and just look at the result. So SMU is probably in no matter what. It would be horrific. It would just be horrific. And part of me kind of wants to see what the committee would do. Because I think we need to get any precedents set in stone. And I don't want this to continue on to next year because I want some answers. So honestly, I am praying Clemson wins this because I really want to see how they handle this, because you just know there's going to be a chance Bama slips in. You just know it. And that changes everything. SMU is going to be like, why would I even play this game then? It did nothing for me.
The committee is literally praying to God.
Oh, SMU wins. Yeah, they're praying because it's set. They did their hard work and it's set.
They want Bama in this thing.
And that's why they need SMU to win. If SMU loses, they are going to have a rough night. It's going to be a rough night.
You wanna make some money on Clemson then? If you think that
I think Clemson's a better team.
You wanna put some money on this if you really want to get tinfoil hat that somebody might want to make this happen?
Just betting Clemson to win?
If you think that big money wants Bama to win, you want to really get tinfoil hatty and go throw some coin on Clemson, thinking that the game's already been fixed.
Well,
that's almost what you're assuming.
Well, to me, I think the better spot is to bet SMU to not make the playoff. I think it's like plus 400. If you really want to get if you really
want to get okay.
If you really want to get on that side of the dark web, I think that's the play. Now, if you because to me, Clemson's plus 120. You can bet it and say it happens, but you're not really having fun, right? You're not really having fun on who the hell makes the playoffs.
That's right.
Yeah, it's plus 300 for SMU to not make the playoff. And they have, which basically, it's weird because it basically suggests, for me, so why not put Bama plus 300 too? Now, if SMU wins, you lose both those bets, right? But if SMU loses, which I anticipate they will, I mean, if you really go down to their schedule, let's talk about it. Nevada barely won. Houston Christian beat them out. Lost a close game to BYU. Got in a shootout with TCU, but won. Beat Florida State, not shocking. A good win against Louisville. Beat Stanford 40-10 on the road. Duke, 1-point win. Beat Pitt by a few touchdowns. You just really haven't beat anyone. Clemson's at least got playoff experience, and they've got big game experience. Did they play many big games this year themselves? No, but they did play Georgia. They did play South Carolina. Those two games in itself completely outweigh anything that SMU has done. And I just think, I don't know. To me, I just feel like Clemson's in a good spot here. Clemson's loss to South Carolina is not a bad loss. South Carolina is one of the best teams in the country right now. So, I mean, to me, I think Clemson wins this game. And we'll have some real fun. We'll have some real fun on Sunday to see what happens. I personally don't think they punish SMU. It would be horrific. But God, am I praying for some drama, because this committee should not get away scotch-free. I think they need to be put on the hot seat one more time. And I feel like they need to set the precedent. What is the precedent for playing in your conference game?
Right.
So, give me Clemson. And, I don't really care about the other late game. I mean,
okay.
Penn State, Oregon, it is what it is. I'm just not interested. I don't care. I mean, none of those teams interest me. Is James Franklin going to win a big game? I mean, Jesus Christ. Is Ryan Day going to beat Michigan ever? Big Ten ball doesn't really didn't get me going. So I will be watching that ACC game though. That will gather my attention outside of the SEC game. So
we will see. We will see it in real time, just as everybody else here is. And to be completely honest with you, I think I have to believe this is going to happen the right way. We're going to find out obviously together here, and I'm extremely excited to say that I do still love college football. I do still love the Saturday game the most. For example, as on a Friday night for 50 minutes, we're sitting here going in. you know, I will never live in a world. I will never live in a world where this isn't my favorite sport. This isn't my favorite game, no matter what happens to it. But not everybody feels that way. We're obviously sickos in this regard. I do just want us to be better. As always, though, we do appreciate you guys for kind of.
Let me leave you with a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger, please. Do not be shocked if Garrett Nussmeier enters the transfer portal.
Shut up, dude. Literally shut up. It's shut up. In any case and endeavor, thank you guys for supporting the show, gals, fellas alike. Please drop us a like. Please drop us a subscribe if you don't mind. We've honestly been getting some extremely interesting growth here with some of our outside fans and networks, and we absolutely love all of you.
Talk about Bryce more.
Bryce, bro, put him in the screen grab more.
Yeah.
We absolutely love all of you. You're beautiful people. We love the input. We love to kind of go back and forth. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion. That's why we live in the greatest country of all time. Thank you guys for supporting us. We love you a lot. It's obviously December, so it's time for Christmas. I'm going to go put some Christmas music on, make a little bit of food, and we will catch you all here soon. And we love you.